Morning, folks. Hopefully you can hear me here. We're going to get started here right now. We're going to have a quick look at the markets and see what's happening. There's some news events that are about to drop here in about 5 minutes, so we should see a little bit of volatility with that. Not a ton. I'm not expecting fireworks or anything. I'll just bring up the calendar here. You can see Thursday we've got some Canadian dollar news happening here in about 5 minutes. We've got the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index for the US dollar and the unemployment claims for the US dollar. So part for news, that's pretty much about it. There's some pound sterling news later on in the afternoon. Early afternoon here. Over the New York lunch hour that's going to drop, and that's really about it. So not a whole ton happening this morning. I had a little bit of movement, so I was looking at was thinking about doing a live session for London, and I wanted to kind of see how the US dollar was panning out. At the time when I was looking at doing a London open session, price was trading down in here, as you can see, and I was just looking at it to fill this gap in here and then to see what it wanted to do. You can see these two long wicks in here right around London Open, and I wanted to see if price was going to continue higher or if it was going to roll over and take out these two equal lows that it had created. And as you can see, price has pushed higher from there. So now we're just sort of trading in a little bit of a range. So you can see right here where the bodies of the candles haven't broken that level there and haven't yet broken this level down here, these three equal highs down here. So we're just sort of trading right now inside of a bit of a price point right now, and not really doing a whole lot. So I'm hoping this news will start to break it out of that and we can get some direction happening here. I'm anticipating higher. I'm anticipating them to come out and take out these highs here from yesterday and to continue with that trend. If we lose this body in here, really this consolidation level in here, if we lose the halfway point in here, then I'll be expecting them to run these lows down here. So we'll kind of watch and see what price wants to do there. If I go down to a 15-minute chart, you can kind of see how that's looking. But you can see price has been stair-stepping higher and higher and higher, and that's sort of why I'm thinking we could continue and take out yesterday's previous high. So that's what we're looking for the New York session, and news should be coming out here right away. Now for Euro USD and pound dollar, I didn't really see a whole lot that I liked here, and reason being is I was expecting higher prices on pound dollar. And it did come to light that it did run higher, about 70 pips early into the London session, and I don't. So at this time of the day, from about 2100 GMT to about 6 GMT, which is right about here. I don't like to see this type of price action, this much movement. I like to see nice, tight, consolidated ranges because they're a little more predictable. And you can see we basically have just a perfect price reversal in there, right at sort of the height of the London Open start, and then price had dropped from there. So I wasn't expecting a drop of that magnitude. I was actually expecting a drop to come down and right about these two equal highs right here and then continue higher, and we didn't get that. You can see how it dropped back in, retested these lows, and then continued lower from there. So if we do get a push higher on the on the US dollar, then we could see the pound dollar continue to drop further. So pretty much from the levels it's at right now. But again, I'm not really too keen on looking at a whole bunch on the pound today. I was actually looking more so at the Canadian dollar, and reason being, I think that we've got some equal highs right here, as you can see, a bunch of these equal highs right here, and some equal highs here, and a couple of levels potentially up here that price could run up and tag, and potentially drop. So that's sort of what I was looking for And honestly, price had actually consolidated a little bit more than what I had wanted to see. But we're gonna watch this one here, and euro. I don't really see anything on the euro that really excites me too much when price does this. It's not very. I mean, you could certainly look at even taking a short from here, and again, continuing this. If this continues to push higher, you should get a drop on euro to come back down in here. But we're just gonna have to wait and see. News should have just come out now, about a minute ago, and like I said, there were medium impact news events, so we're not going to get fireworks. We're not going to see price start screaming higher. It's probably going to be a slow grind if it does go higher. Now keep in mind, price just sort of hit, see these candles right in here, this candle high, these candle lows, and how the bodies of these candles have so far failed to penetrate that. Just try to find this a little bit better. Basically the candle high right there. So that could be a bit of a resistance level. So if it fails to break there, then we could run a bit lower. But I think we're seeing some nice bullish action on the U.S. dollar right now, and I would expect that to continue. And look at the week. This was Monday's trading, so you can see Monday closed. And so far Thursday we're pushing higher as well too. Sorry about that, guys. I just got a bit of this down here. We had a nice bearish move down on the U.S. CAD, and I'd kind of like to see that continue. Price basically just to run up here, sweep these highs here, reject off, and then come lower. Now there is a small area of price right about where these lows are right here, and I'll just drop this down here. There's kind of an area right in here where I'd like to see if they would be interested to run price up to. If they start screaming past this small consolidation level in here, then we could see that price get filled. And I actually put out a trade signal to all of our members yesterday. Right in here, I wanted to see price. I put a level in here, a sell level right there. It just missed the entry by about 5 pips, and sometimes that happens. It is what it is, but price ran away about 80 pips away from us, so unfortunately it is what it is. Crude oil, I was looking at crude oil down in here all through London, and I wanted to see price drop down into this small consolidation level in here. You can see we didn't get it. I was hoping to see a bounce off of those highs right here. We didn't get that, and price just came down just shy of the lows and then exploded up, and now we're testing new levels up here. Just made some new highs. Crude oil is making record highs here. It hit 72.27 today so far, and you can see, I mean, we haven't been here to this level since November of 2014, so it's literally been 4 years since we've been at this level here, coming up on 4 years. And so crude is just smashing new highs here, and I'm not expecting this trend to finish off anytime soon. I think there's plenty of levels much higher that I think we could be reaching for. So if price comes back down to sweep this low here, I'm under here, I'd be looking at taking some longs off of this level in here. I'll be watching for price to bounce in this level, so we're going to be watching that for crude here coming up very shortly. We have a Dave has put out a signal here yesterday on an S&P trade. I'll just run through that real quick here because that's still relevant. If anybody's holding S&P, any of our members, you would have got this signal yesterday. See, prices came up, we caught the high here, and it's chopping lower nicely now. So as you can see, we've got our target in. So if you are a member, you would have gotten that signal yesterday and taken advantage of that sell order there. So that's all I'm going to say about the S&P. Go back to here quickly. Starting to so far see a little bit of rejection at this level here. So I'm going to be watching these lows down here on US dollar to see if that wants to break. But before it does, I'd really like it if US CAD would pop its head above here and reject. If it does that, then I'd be looking at going short, and as I say, looking at some levels. I'm looking at levels down in here to target if it does go lower. And it's more so, I'm just going to get rid of some of these levels in here. 1 second, guys. There we go. So about 126, I see this old consolidation level back in here. That's kind of where I'd be looking for the target to come in. So it's about 126, call it about 126.80 even level there. That's where I'd be looking for price to run down to if we do get that. And you can see we've got some equal lows down here. It almost looks like a bit of a head and shoulder pattern. Price ran down, shallow retracement, and if we pull a fib on these levels here, from the bodies to the bodies, you can see price ran up right to that 79% retracement level, very, very significant Fibonacci level, and rejected very, very nicely. So if we do the same thing again, here to here, there is the possibility that we could run up and again hit this small consolidation level up here at the 72 and 79% retracement level. There's definitely that possibility, but I don't know. I think this, with them coming down and pushing back up in here and running the prices back up to just about this low here, I think they've sort of satisfied the need in price to retrace to those old levels in here. So I think we could see that completed, and I believe we'll probably see lower prices on it. So just keeping that in mind. That's sort of what I'm looking for. So far, starting to see some reaction on the pound dollar. Again, it would have been, I wasn't looking for a reaction of this magnitude on the pound, and just because we put in this big Asian range in here, like I say, it was an 80 pip Asian range, I didn't look at anything that I was interested in on the pound dollar. When price runs that far, that quickly in the Asian range, when price should typically be doing this, they should be building up orders through that time period, and they were just distributing price higher. And really all it did was just sweep these interim interim highs right here from Tuesday's trading. And really, I mean, if price had have come up and ran the high on Tuesday and ran back into this level, these lows right back here, then I would have been a little more interested in it and would be looking for prices to continue lower. So if we go back to the daily, you can see the range that the pound dollar has been chopping in. This is why I say I wasn't really looking at anything for the pound dollar that interested me until we break through this range here. I'm not really looking at anything too serious on the pound dollar. Maybe a scalp here or there, but you know, for price to run up 80 pips and then basically to drop that same amount in the same time period, it just really wasn't anything that interested me. So nothing to talk about the pound dollar today, in my opinion. You know, unless we start to see some serious rejection, and if price were to come back up to these levels in here and want to trade and reject, then maybe you could look for a short and potentially look for lower prices. But that would all sort of depend on what the US dollar is doing, obviously. If we start pushing higher on the US dollar, then we could see those lower prices. Now, Euro GBP would be something that would be a catalyst. So if we saw lower prices in Euro GBP, we should be seeing higher prices in the pound dollar. And you can see we've steadily been seeing lower prices on the daily. And pound hasn't really been seeing that. We should have been seeing higher prices. And again, we've been seeing this going straight sideways and trading in a range. And so what they've been doing is they've been pushing the Euro USD around. They've been pushing this lower. So Euro USD has been the pair that's been manipulated. And they really, though, from yesterday to today, really haven't done a whole lot. We swept the lows on Wednesday's trading. We swept the low from last week here. And I think they're going to push down to the 11700 level. and that is just a sweep of these two equal lows in here and a return back to this consolidation area. So that's what I'm looking for. Price to trade back down to this level down here, and really just a sweep of these lows by about 10 pips, and that would basically be about right about here, 10 15 pips or so, basically to the old highs in here, maybe even 20 pips if we get a nice little run. And that's kind of what I'd be looking for on the Euro USD. So price to finish off somewhere in here. We could still get this. I've got on the economic calendar, we've got on the economic calendar here a ton of news for the Canadian dollar coming up tomorrow, and then a US dollar FOMC member speaking. So we could see price just steadily continue lower, but in order for that to happen, we would need the pound dollar to continue lower as well. And we'd probably have to take out these lows, these two equal lows down here, these two wicks. We'd have to take those out and potentially trade back down to the small consolidation area down here in order to get that to happen. So lots got to happen in order for us to sweep these lows down here. But not to say that that may not start unfolding here soon. But you can see it's on the daily, it's doji. So really there's not a whole lot to talk about. We're pretty much, here's the open, and on Thursday's trading, and you can see we're trading just a couple of pips shy of the open right now. So price ran its high, ran its low, and now we're just sitting in the middle of the range. It's sort of a consolidation day where they just sort of hunt stops. You know, if you're short on this thing, they ran price up, hunted your stop, took you out. If you're going long on this, they ran it down a couple of times, hunted your stop, took you out, and now we're just finished right back in the middle of the range. So I'm not expecting a whole lot of action on the Euro USD today. We'll probably see that maybe into tomorrow. And they may want to hold off as well for next week and run a push lower into next week. So we could see that also come to fruition early into the trading week then. So next maybe Monday or Tuesday, they could drop price down into there next week. So we'll watch for that, but I'm not really looking at a whole bunch on Euro USD right now. Unless they started really rejecting these levels here. And then passing down here, then maybe we can look at something there. But okay, whoops. US dollar, US CAD. There we go. That's starting to push higher now. What's the US dollar doing? Starting to slowly push higher here. So I want to watch for that. Again, my only idea to go short on this, there are some areas, borrow this line here, there are some areas up here, like I say, that equal highs up here, equal high, equal high, equal high, that if we really get a bull move, so what I'd be expecting here is them to come up, reject, and just wick right above this blue line right here. And I wouldn't really want to see them start to close candles above and start to stack up green candles up here. If that happens, then we could potentially come up and close this range in here, take out this high, and maybe even do a push up into this level here and start to run the stops on here. That would be sort of the only caveat to it. If like I say, if this candle comes up and it doesn't show any signs of rejecting, then we'll be changing that opinion, and we'll probably end up see price maybe even pushing higher into here. And again, if we start taking out yesterday's high on the US dollar, if this high starts to get ran, then you may want to hold off on that idea. Now, just keep in mind, too, like I said, on Friday, I'll just bring this up one more time. Look at the economic calendar on Friday. Look at the Canadian dollar. Tons of news coming out for the Canadian dollar. So we could see some action on it tomorrow. So they may be sort of holding the Canadian dollar in a bit of a range today. And, you know, we may not get any significant movement on it today. So just kind of keep that in mind. There are definitely a few factors, but I just the only reason again I like the Canadian dollar was because we saw those big ranges on cable today, and cable still is unable to get out of this range. Euro USD is just chopping straight sideways. There's not a whole lot to discuss on that one there, in my opinion anyway. And then it was crude oil that I was looking at for a pop, which it ended up getting, but it didn't come down to my entry level down here under these lows. So I'm going to be watching what prices are going to be doing in here as well too. So that's kind of my thoughts. I don't want to go through too many pairs today. If you guys have a pair that you want me to have a quick peek at, I've got the chat up under your live streaming here that you can certainly type your question into. But I don't want to bring up too many pairs here because you kind of get distracted with the amount of pairs and jumping back and forth isn't too good to catch and move. So I'm just kind of going to watch this here for a minute. And the other thing too, and I'm watching crude oil as well because Canadian dollar and U.S. CAD and crude oil are also tied together. So typically, if we're getting this nice bullish action happening, as you can see on crude oil, this nice bull move, it would lend to the opposite on crude oil. It should strengthen the Canadian dollar, the Canadian futures contract. On itself, it should strengthen it, and you should see this going down against the U.S. dollar. So the U.S. dollar is the front pair in this currency basket. So if you have a weak Canadian dollar and a strong U.S. dollar, you're going to see price, do something like this. It'll run higher. But if crude oil is gaining strength, crude oil is one of Canada's biggest national resources and biggest export. So if you have higher prices on crude oil, it means all the producing companies are making more money, which means it's strength. The Canadian dollar is bringing more revenue and strengthening the dollar. So it'll have the opposite effect on the Canadian U.S. CAD pair, Forex pair. So just keep that in mind, and we are seeing a bit of a drop here in U.S. crude. Now doesn't trade in tandem all the time. It's not like we get a drop in here and we'll get a drop in U.S. CAD or anything like that. But you just kind of got to watch that relationship happen. If you do get a strong strong bullish move in oil, then you'll probably see a strong bearish move in the Canadian dollar. And as you can see in here, the U.S. CAD dollars, you can see, things like that. So anyway, price, what are we here? So I kind of want to just have a look at something here. I'm expecting about 10 pips, 20 pips at the most for a stop run. So we'll see what we get here. So that's 10 pips right there. And 20 pips is right about here. Whoops. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of this line here. I don't need that. So I want to see what price does. If we push higher than this 20 pips, then I'm going to assume that they're going to probably run price higher and potentially run up to here and maybe even take out these highs in here. That'd be great if they did that. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm opposed to that idea. Because if they did that, then I'd be looking again, same type of idea. I'd be looking to see if they want to have any willingness to go higher than this level. If they did that, then we could see a push back up into here. I don't think we're going to get that high on it, but definitely something we could look for. If the U.S. dollar, which is now pushing higher here, if the U.S. dollar starts to push up to the 94 level, which I think we're going to get here probably next week, then that could be enough strength for the U.S. CAD to push back up into those levels. So just kind of keep that in mind. But so far, price is pretty much bang on that 10 pip sort of sweep. I'm going to watch here to see. It's we got about 9 minutes before this candle closes here, so I want to see what they want to do here. Lots of time in the day too. It's only it's almost 9 o'clock New York time, so we've got price that'll run until about 11:30 or so before I'd be looking 12 o'clock or so before you close your trade on the day. So lots of time for price to run. Let's see, US pound dollar doing not a whole lot. Seeing a little bit of rejection. I guess while we're waiting for the CAD to run, there was a couple of levels here that I was looking for on coffee's seeing a little bit of a bounce, traded back down to a logical level here that I had outlined on the chart a while back. Seeing a little bit of a bounce there. Sugar's seeing a nice bounce. I missed a long entry yesterday that I was trying to get on into here. I was looking at price down in here, and it had ran just as I got onto the chart. It had started to run off onto here, and I was waiting to see if it would come back down one more time. I didn't get it. I didn't get an entry in yesterday, but you can see a very, very nice move. Had pushed up higher from there. And I'm looking for higher prices on this, by the way. So there's lots of time to get in on this. I'm not suggesting that price is going to run. I'd like to see move back up here eventually. It's going to take a while to do that. Price could even still run back down to this 11.25 level. So just keep that in mind if you do go long. Make sure your stop is underneath. Basically, make sure your stop is about 110, 111 even. Right about here, well underneath these lows here, and maybe even I would suggest even under this low here. So just keep that in mind if you are doing a sugar trade, if you are a commodity trader, have a wide stop on that. Bitcoin is starting to roll over as well too. They're not smashing this thing lower or anything by any means, but they definitely are running it lower. And I'm bearish on Bitcoin. I've said it quite a few times. I don't think they're going to run and take out these highs yet. I think they're going to come and smash down the 6,400 levels, 6,500 levels before they go up and take out these highs. And we're starting to see a bit of a drop now, but we're going to have to wait and see on Bitcoin. If you are a crypto trader, they're really not moving the price on it too much. Like, it usually trends quite nicely and moves quite quickly. And so far, the past 2 weeks, it's really been sitting sideways. It hasn't been doing a whole bunch. But again, I am calling lower prices. And I believe if they do want to bounce this higher, then we'll get a bounce somewhere in this level here. I'll pull a level off of that. It's here, right around the 79% retracement level. So around 7,200 to 7,400. Could see some area of support in that area for price to bounce. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that. I think they're probably just going to scream price right through it and then eventually capture these lows. See these equal lows in here. Everyone's got their stops residing under there, and I think that's where they're gonna head price, and then eventually I think they're gonna take out that low. Is this going to be the drive to send it below this low? I don't know. You know, that will remain to be seen. They could just sit in here and run it sideways for another few months. You know, there's always that option as well too. So you just kind of got to watch. Natural gas has seen some nice bullish movement, and I think I'd be inclined to be going along. If price comes down to these levels in here, or back to these highs, I'd be looking at taking a long position. We're not too far away from that either. Maybe today and maybe tomorrow, into next week. Once tomorrow closes, I'd be looking at potentially getting long on this market. And we just swept a couple of equal highs a couple of days ago, and we're coming into a season of seasonal time period with natural gas that's into the summer months when everyone's running their air conditioners nonstop because it's hot all over the world. You typically will see a rise in the price of natural gas. And same thing in the winter, everyone's got their heaters on, and that's why you see these subsequent rises as well. So that's sort of what I'm looking for on that gas. So we're going to watch for that to happen. So far, US CAD hasn't shown any real willingness to go higher yet. Get those, yeah, just by a pip or two, just came up above this high right here. So I don't want to rush in and sell this right now yet. I want to see what, so far we're not continuing higher on the US dollar. So that's a good sign. If US dollar, if Wednesday was the high on US dollar and Thursday fails to get higher than that, then that's, like I say, we could see a nice drop in the Canadian dollar here, and price comes up. And again, they may not do it today. They may be saving it for tomorrow with all that Canadian dollar news and then dropping it. But we'll have to watch and see how that goes. Natural gas. I'm just waiting for Canadian dollar to kind of do its thing here, so that's why I'm sort of looking at a few other markets. Ethereum, not quite as much of a bearish move as Bitcoin has seen recently, as you can see here. So a little bit of strength to Ethereum, but a couple of levels just to note here. The lows in here, price came back up, tagged into it. We're seeing a bit of a drop now. So, you know, again, I'd be looking at this level down here for price to come and run back down into. I think they're going to come back down and drop it lower. They did sweep these lows down here just briefly, but there's like 1, 2, 3 equal lows in here that I think they could come and grab. So I'm going to keep that in mind and watch that on Ethereum. But if we don't see price, if Bitcoin is smashing down and we don't see this price doing the same thing, then this is definitely going to be the front runner and showing some strength. So we could see the early movement on this. And Litecoin, same type of idea. Again, we have these equal lows down here. That price failed to come down and get lower than these two lows in here, and they ran it higher. Now, this is very similar to what Bitcoin's been doing. Created some equal highs up in here, and now it's just a nice bearish move that's ensued so far. The failure swing to go above here, and I think we're going to be going lower. I think it's going to hit that $100 level here before too long. So look at that. And then Ripple, the last one. This one did post a low, a nice low, and it did run those stops very handsomely down here to take everybody out of the market. It ran this low here, and then it popped up. But again, this market got smashed. You can see it was hovering under $1, under 25 cents here forever, and then finally price popped late into December and then ripped up. I mean, this is a very, very short period of time from December 13th to the high came in at January 4th. So, I mean, a month and a couple of days, and price ripped, you know, over $3, $3.25. So pretty explosive movement, and then gave it all back in a big hurry, big gap in here. But I'm expecting it, if price comes back down, you can see how I have it marked in here. I was looking at the Ethereum, or sorry, this Ripple chart here a couple of days ago, and you can see how I have price come down to about the 46-cent mark, and then I'm looking for some kind of a bounce higher. And I think this would be one of the ones where it could be a front runner. So you have Bitcoin in here. I think we're going to make new lows in Bitcoin. If we fail on Ripple and on Litecoin to make, well, sorry, I shouldn't say Litecoin. Litecoin will, but Ethereum, if we fail to make these equal lows and run for these equal lows the same time that Bitcoin is doing it, that's going to lead me to believe that there's a bit of SMT divergence, and that we could see strength in cryptocurrency coming up in the near, interim future, I guess. So if it fails to create new lows, then I'm going to assume that they are going to start running these things higher. So Bitcoin drops lower, but this one and Ripple fail to make those lows, then I believe we'll see higher prices ensue. So that's sort of what I'm watching. Nothing that's going to happen tomorrow, so lots of time on the radar screens to watch that, but that's kind of where I'm watching those ones. Saw some rejection so far on US CAD. I like to see that. And look at that, perfect 10 pips right above here. Price came in on this candle here at, you can't see my price, my status bar down here. I don't have it on the screen. You can't see it, and I can't get up there. There we go. You can see the high comes in at 127.87. High comes in here at 127.97. So a perfect 10 pip run higher. And so far it's rejecting. So I just want to see. You can see US dollar. It looks like it came up, kind of put it in an equal high here, and now we're going lower. So that's kind of why I think we're going to see lower prices on Canadian dollars. So I could take a short in here. This is just a demo account, obviously. Well, sorry, this is my analysis account. I don't take trades off of this one, but I've got a demo account here. I'd be interested in taking a demo short and seeing if we can't clear the lows in here and continue lower. See how that works out. But I want to see if price breaks this line in here on the US dollar. Not that I'm overly cautious or anything like that. It's not like we're talking about a whole lot of pips here and in movement, but you can see here the bull run on the US dollar. That's a nice bull run, and so to go against that trend, and not only that, but look at this bull run, right? So it's a bit counter trend trading against the US dollar currently, but you can see the US CAD is in a nice downtrend here, and so it's going with the same trend in US CAD. So that's kind of why I'd be looking at going short on it. And it's kind of a muted session today. There's not a whole lot happening, unfortunately. Like I say, you can see the pound dollar, which usually offers a lot of action. Just very unpredictable price action in here. And it took out the low where it opened, and now we're trading back sort of the middle of the range. So if you took a fib from kind of the high to the low, you can see that we're pretty much trading right in the middle of the range today. So I wouldn't be surprised if we finished off on the daily candle. I wouldn't be surprised if we finished off kind of like on a doji today, or basically right where it's at, essentially. And same thing with the euro. On this one here on the daily, that's the doji. I'd be surprised if we finished any higher or any lower on the day with the euro USD. So not much to talk about there either. So unfortunately, it's kind of a lackluster session here. I don't have a whole lot to go off of here today, unfortunately, and I don't want to force trades either, and that's why we're seeing some nice rejection here so far, though, like I say. But I just want to see if the US dollar is going to breach this level in here. If it does, then that would be the signal to be going short. And we're still not talking about a lot of pips here. You could have, let's say you even just took a sweep of this, a 10 pips got short up here. We're still only about 15 pips, 16 pips under where you could have potentially got short. So not a lot of pips yet. And then I'd target the lows down in here and this low potentially. I don't know that it would get this low on the day, so to sweep this low here, but I definitely think, see these equal lows right here, I think that would be the target for sure on the day, these two equal lows, and potentially a run just below there by a few pips. And so from, let's say you went short at current level down to there, that'd be a nice 30-40 pip run. So not bad not bad for a day's range. And so we can watch for that. If price, I'd like to see if price wants to push higher one more time in here, and see if I can get a bit of a rejection, and then maybe I'd look at going short there. But we'll just have to see what it wants to do here. And again, no rush. You can see price is not like it's in a big hurry to do anything today. A bit of a duller session. So, like I was saying, If anybody has a pair, whether a future or crypto or forex pair that you want me to have a quick peek at, I can certainly do that for you. Just type it into the chat here. But that's sort of what my thoughts are on the day. So I looked at the US dollar, Euro USD, pound dollar, Euro GBP, which has seen some nice rejection so far in here. So again, if this continues to reject and we start to push higher, I want to see them start taking all these highs here into next week. If that happens, then this pound dollar, let me get rid of this. You can see this a little better. This pound dollar will start pushing lower, and the levels that I'm looking at are right down here. See these lows down in here that the pounds come in. It's failed when price came in and consolidated down here. It failed to take out that low. So there's a bunch of stops residing underneath this level here. So that's where I believe we could target. And if that would happen, we'd have to get a push well above the 94 level and these equal highs up here, closer to 95, in order for that to happen on the pound dollar. That's a big range away, obviously, but I think that's where they're going to run price. It's about 500 pips. Is that 500? Yeah, just about 500 pips away. I think more likely in the short term, for sure, I think these levels right here would be an easy target to grab. I think they'll probably end up, if we can get out of this bloody consolidation right here. This is terrible trading right here. This is very, very ugly trading. A lot of guys, you'll get chopped up in this, trying to trade this and breaking out, playing breakout strategies or whatever. You'll get chopped up on that in a big hurry. And these are big ranges. These are still 100 pip ranges. From low to high, like that's 140 pips. So big range. But you could certainly have faded a position up here. If price ever does want to trade back up in here, you could certainly fade that. But just be careful, because there's a level that I have marked off right here, this 13700 level, that I think they could have an interest to trade back up to. So just keep that in mind. If you are going to fade a trade up in here at, let's say just for argument's sake, price runs back up to, price runs back up to 13600 basically. Okay, if I can get that on the close enough. So let's say price pushes up and we hit this 13600. Your stop, and you decide to fade that and basically just target these lows down here. So again, it'd be be a nice trade, nice 120 pip trade on the day. You can just take that and hope that price runs down. If you did that, your stop would definitely have to be above this 13700. So you would literally have to have a 100 pip stop on that, and I would even say about 20 pips, 30 pips higher than that. So you have to have a very, very low risk associated with that in order, if price does want to run up to there, you definitely don't want to be getting a margin call in your account or anything like that. So you'd have to reduce your risk. But you could certainly do that. I mean, if price does trade back up here, I'm expecting price to come eventually and trade lower and trade down into the 13300 level, and this would be a ways away here. But that would be a great trade if you did something like that, and price ultimately finally gave it up. That'd be a nice 300 pip trade. So just something I was looking at on the pound dollar here. You can see they came up, just popped their head above here, turtle souped, and dropped. And now we're trading, just got under this low right here. But I think you can see how price is consolidated right here. We're doing that same consolidation. And I think we're going to see a push lower into this range and under this range here very soon. So maybe next week, that would be great. I've been saying that, though, now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10... 11 days now. It's just been consolidating like this for 2 weeks and haven't seen any movement. So what they have been doing in that time period, though, is they've been manipulating the Euro USD and smashing this guy down. And so it's usually the Euro USD or the pound dollar that run. And you can see the Euro USD has been the one to trade the past 2 weeks, and the pound has been consolidating sideways. So, that's sort of until this breaks that range, that's sort of what you can expect to continue to happen in there. So a couple of confluences. You can see the body in here lining up with a few levels in here where prices has spent some time in. So we could see them consolidate price in here and then start to release the pound next week. You know, that may be something that they're looking at for sure. Because look how much time price spent in this trading range. Like there's, you know, probably 3 weeks in here that it chopped, and then another couple weeks in here that it chopped sideways, another week or so in here, came down and hovered just above it here. And so this whole range in here was probably about a month right in this level here. So spent a significant amount of time in this trading range, right at the levels that we're at right now, at this 1800 big figure level. Spent a lot of time in this area. So they traded away, chopped higher, and came back down again. I would expect the same thing down in this level again. I wouldn't be surprised if they just traded in here sideways for a little bit, you know, for a week or two, and then that's when they come in and start manipulating the pound and dropping the pound to match up for the same drop that we see in here. This has had a nice drop for sure, but I think we're going to keep going lower. So how's this CAD trade doing here? Not doing a whole lot. There's not a lot of excitement going on today. It's just kind of Thursday. You know, price usually starts to run pretty good on a few pairs, but UJ, if you're a UJ trader, you may be able to grab something off of this here today. Price just in the past, right around London, I think you'd be able to get, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it would have been before London. Oh no, right about London, just after London open. Price started to really rally in here. Nice 100 pip movement on the yen today. So if you, I'm not a yen trader, so I missed this. I don't watch this market at all. Didn't see that move coming. So but all that was just a return back down to these old highs. And you can see the move. Boom. Drop back down to an hour. You can see how those prices came in just about to these old highs right in here. Just beautifully. Came down, offered support, and then a nice explosive move higher. Going forward, just took out this high here, as you can see. I'm just doing some quick analysis on this. Just took out that high, so I would expect them to continue to push this higher. So again, and this all falls in conjunction with the US dollar. If we do see this push higher up to 94 in the US dollar, the US yen will definitely move up into these levels in here, and I'd even expect potentially even these levels here could get ran on the yen. So if you're a yen trader, I wouldn't be fading this trade yet if you're a yen trader. Definitely though, you see this move from this high to this low down here, starting to come back to the 72 and 79% retracement levels. Could be some short-term resistance in these levels in here, so just watch for that. And especially at the 112 big figure level right up here, this blue line that I've got right across here, that comes into these old lows right here. That could offer some short-term resistance as well. So we could see price trade up to that and then drop for a short time and correct, grab up some more longs, and then push higher into here. But again, that would we would need a big push up on the US dollar in order for that to happen. So US CAD, still waiting on this. Really not doing anything, just sitting sideways for the past 45 minutes, trading in about a 20 pip range. So if you're just joining us, thanks for coming in. We are looking at, my idea here was to go short on the US CAD, just to continue to capture the continued downward range here and potentially sweep these lows under the market that was created yesterday and the other day earlier in the week. And these are Monday's lows in here. So I was just looking for a short retracement higher above these old highs here, which we got, as you can see. And I'll just actually, I'm gonna grab this. You can see how price just poked its head above that. This old high right in here by 1 pip, grabbed it and dropped. Now we're starting to get some bullish move back up, so we'll see what it wants to do. Gonna watch this. I don't watch the CAD a whole lot either. It's not anything that I'm it's not a big market. So for me, my wheelhouse, I watch the US dollar all day long, every day, because this is obviously the king. This is the one that you got to watch. If you get a handle on this, you can tell where all the other cross pairs go. I watched the Euro USD a little bit, and only because I'm not a huge fan of the Euro USD. Mainly because of this big trading range right in here. This wasn't anything that I was too excited to trade in and day out. We've finally been breaking down in here, and that's why I've been watching it a lot more. But you can see the pound dollar and the Euro USD. I like trading the pound a little bit more, just because you get a little more explosive movement. The price is a little more dynamic. But if the pound dollar is moving, the Euro USD is consolidating, and vice versa. If the Euro USD is consolidating, the pound dollar will be moving. And so far right now, there hasn't been anything to discuss on the pound dollar the past 2 trading weeks, because it's been in this consolidation level, so I've been watching the Euro USD quite a bit. But as soon as we break out of that trading range on the pound, then I believe we'll probably go into consolidation on the euro, in which case my focus will go back to the pound. And then I use the Euro GBP. I don't trade the Euro GBP. I use this, again, just as a guideline. If this starts pushing down, we should see the pound dollar going up, and vice versa. Whichever one's trading in out of the consolidation between the euro and the pound, then this pair will be dictating which one's going higher or lower. So that's kind of the 4 that I mainly watch on a daily basis. US CAD is... like I say, I like trading the CAD every now and then. This price action in here, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about in here. I was expecting price to drop out of this level, and this move higher right here kind of surprised me. They really just ran the stops and dropped it out, and you can see prices return back to that consolidation level, and so far hasn't really shown any willingness to continue higher. So far, again, we're just kind of sitting here right now watching price. So again, I wouldn't expect today's trading hasn't been too exciting, right? Doji sideways trading on the euro, pound dollar still locked in this consolidation. Euro GBP not doing a whole bunch. It came down, rejected so far, and it's trading back up to where price opened up. US CAD. Again, ton of news coming out tomorrow on the US CAD, so they may just sit here and do this on the US CAD for the rest of the day. So, unfortunately, there may not be a whole lot there. Crude oil, and this is interesting. We're coming back down now so they ran this low here, which is I was expecting them to do. We're trading back into this consolidation range. Now, what I want to watch on crude oil, give me this line. Okay, so you can see here, we've got some relatively equal lows down in here. Price wick down in here, but they hadn't come back to run the stops below there yet. So I'm going to be watching this red line here to see if they have any willingness to come down. But basically, if price fails to break really this level here, let me just look at this for a second. See how they've really worked this range in here? If we fail to go down lower than the middle of this range, and I'd even go as far to say even this, where I've got this line here. Let me just put a price label on that. So 71.75 for all intents and purposes. If price fails to go lower than that on the day, we could see a bounce higher and into Friday. You can see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, pretty tight consolidation on on Tuesday and Wednesday. We had crude oil inventory numbers on Wednesday. So they consolidated, and then they finally got their crude oil numbers. They dropped it under the market and then released it higher. That's sort of why I'm thinking we could see higher prices on crude. I mean, I'm bullish crude oil anyway. So I think we could see higher prices come out on that one. Come down to a logical level though. This is actually moving not too bad. So I'd be looking, so what and just to clarify, I'd be looking to go long on crude oil. I'm not, I'd like to see price come down here, honestly. If I could get an entry off of this level, if price did this, came down, shot under here, failed to go any lower than this area right here, rejected, and then did that, I'd be all over that today. If we could get that movement, that would be beautiful. But I have a feeling that this 71.75 level will probably be put the low end of the day, or sorry, put the low end of this swing, and then we'll probably see price start to reject and then run higher. If you did go long here, your stop would have to be, let me just see here. Let's say you went long. Let's say price came down a little bit here to 71.80. Let's say you got a long off at 71.80, just for argument's sake. Your stop would have to be right. See this low right here? I'd put my stop in kind of right about the lows in here. So we get a rejection in here. I wouldn't want to see price go any lower and start taking out these lows. If it did that, then in my mind that this would be an invalid price swing, and we'd probably see lower prices and maybe can trade back down to the lows from earlier in the week. But I don't think we're going to get that. I think we're going to see rejection at this level here, and I think we'll see price shoot higher. So we're going to watch for that. So, and again, just to clarify, just in case you're just joining us now, so if crude oil is going up, right, like we're seeing here, you can see crude oil is on the daily, nice bull run on crude oil. That is going to lend to a drop in the US CAD. You can see these drops that are ensuing here in the US CAD, and on the daily, nice big drop on the US CAD, shallow retracements, and I think we're going to see another drop in the US CAD. But if that does happen on crude oil, if we continue to see this push higher, then we should see a nice drop lower on the US CAD. So far we're back up to this level here, and again, I mean, if you went short Canadian dollar, you know, again, I haven't taken a short yet on this. I'm just watching price at these levels, because I think if it has any willingness to go higher, there could be a bit of a draw, and that's why I've got these levels marked out right here. There could be a draw on price up to these levels up here. I don't think we're going to get that high. I think the retracement was right here, and I think that's going to be sort of the extent of the retracement higher on this downward move to get back up into here. I think that was it, and this is just going to be a short-term rally to clear the stops. And I'm just going to look in here. I wouldn't be surprised if 2800 level gets tagged. So it just fell short. So 127.97 on my feed here got tagged. I wouldn't be surprised if 12800 and maybe even 128.05 got ran. So I'm going to put a level on that. So that's kind of the area that I'm looking at. That would be sort of the line in the sand, I guess, but that would sort of be the level that I would permit price to run up to on the high side without it being concerned of running up to here. So that's sort of what I'd be looking at. So we'll have to wait and watch that. I'm not going to sit on here too much longer, guys, and bore you. I've been on for about an hour so far, and really there's not a ton in price that's action happening today. Like I say, the typical Euro USD pound dollar pairs, not doing a whole bunch today. I only like US CAD because, you know, again, news coming out tomorrow, lots of news coming out for the US CAD tomorrow, and they're kind of putting it into some levels that interest me. And that was pretty much about it. We're S&P, how's that trade doing? So price is still running down on S&P nicely. We got short up in here. This isn't, if you're just joining us, so this is our demo account here. We put a signal out yesterday on S&P and just about the highs. Price is running off nicely from there, so that's still valid. And that's about it. Don't see a lot else here that I can discuss. If you guys have any questions, by all means, please type that into the chat. I'd be happy to entertain any of you guys here for a minute or two while we're watching price, but that's really about all I got for you guys. I wish it was a little more exciting. It's Thursday. You know, Dave will be on tomorrow morning, again, trading S&P, gold, and UJ. Speaking of gold, nice movement on gold. And I think we're going to see lower prices. So, again, gold, whatever the US dollar does here. So if we see a push higher on the US dollar, it should drop gold lower. And Dave talks about gold much more extensively. So if you want to join, if you're a gold trader and you want to get some insight on what this market does, make sure you join us tomorrow at 9 a.m. New York time, because Dave will be on. He'll be trading the gold market, and he'll be hunting for some trades on here. And broke out of this nice consolidation level, and so far breaking out very nicely to the downside. And I think we're going to see price. We're right now we're sort of trading back into this sort of consolidation range in here, but I think long term, I think we're going to see prices run back down to the lows back down in here, and get traded down to. So that's sort of where I'd be targeting, and that just sort of coincides with this push up to here, and maybe even this push up higher on the US dollar. I'm actually going to dog tag that real quick, just so you can see $95 big figure. Now that's sort of where I'd be watching price to go to on the US dollar. If we do see that run higher, we should see a nice push lower on this. And just looking at some levels here, if price ever retraced back up to here, you would probably be fairly correct in the assumption that this would act as resistance and price would fall off from there if they ever traded up there. Again, I'd be looking for shorts at that level, but I'm just talking about gold now just because, you know, like I say, I don't there's really not a whole lot of other action happening anywhere else right now. So nice push up on Canadian dollar. So again, and this is why, you know, you got to watch price. So I'm looking for short ideas on the Canadian dollar. They may be running it for the interim here just to capture some people going stops, sorry, above the market here. So just keep that in mind. If price goes higher than here, like I say, so this is kind of my you know, my go no go zone here. So if price runs higher than this 128.05 level, I believe they'll probably run it up to here, which would be, you know, 128.30, potentially 128.40. In my mind, would probably get tagged somewhere in and around there, and I would expect them to drop it from there. If they don't and they want to keep pushing higher, then these highs up here at 128.70, you know, 128.80, those will get ran. Okay, so that's sort of what I'm looking at on US CAD. But I was hoping to see a rejection, and you can see here this is, and the reason why it's running higher is because the US dollar is pushing higher as well too. And unfortunately, guys, I don't have a trade for you today. I just don't see anything that is going to be a high probability. You know, like when I started this trading session an hour ago, you possibly could have went short in here and maybe captured 20 pips, but really that's kind of the name of the game today is, you know, 10 pips here, 20 pips there. Not a ton of action. Might have been 30 pips on there if you wanted to grab a long on CAD and potentially ride it. Be interesting to see how much they're going to be taking it up, though. But I don't necessarily want to counter trend trade this, because I think they're going to drop it, and I think you see how it's created equal lows down here. I think that's where they're going to target. I'd even permit price to go maybe up to this level here. 128.13, maybe 128.15 on the high side, but that's pretty much about it. $25 pip stop run. We'll see. So that's 17 pips there, and that'll be about 26 pips there. I'm just basically off of these equal highs right here. Equal high, equal high, equal high, equal high. I'm just basically figuring out how far they'd run price above that level. A bit of a wedge formation. I don't trade this, by the way, just these patterns right here, these trend lines here, in my opinion, I don't hold a lot of weight on those. But you definitely can't help but notice the confluence in them, so you definitely should mention them at least. But anyway. If price closes above this blue line here, we're going to take out the high on the day from yesterday. And if that happens, then US dollar, US CAD, we could potentially take out this interim high here. So just keep that in mind. But anyways, I don't see Jonathan. 128.25. You like that level? 128.25. Why do you like 128.25? Because of this over here? It might be different on your feed as well, too. In terms of price level, so I don't know. I'm assuming this is probably one of the levels maybe that you're referring to up here, or even up here, but I don't know what significance 128.25 would hold on the US CAD per se. Let me go out to a there. We'll do this. Some equal levels back in here. Could be some confluence with those for sure. Equilibrium of the daily chart range. This is a draw on price, not to look at for a sell. Oh yeah. On the daily range of Wednesday's trading, you mean? Yeah, just about, yeah. You know, in there. Yeah, and that could be the draw for sure. Looking at this level, oops, looking at these levels in here, they're definitely running price. But like I say, yeah, I mean, that could get tagged. I like these levels up here, to be honest with you. I think kind of anywhere in sort of, and this is a bit of a vague, you know, description, but basically, if they take out this high here, I'd be looking for them to return to the lows in here. And if they keep screaming past that, then we'll be looking for this. I don't think they're going to get up there. But with all that news coming out tomorrow, they could do a quick whip or a quick price run up into that area, grab the stops, and then tank it. You know, that's definitely they're really pushing price up right now on it. So it's going to be interesting to see. But this is, yeah, this is... kind of one of those levels that I'd be looking at there too. But long term, I like short on US CAD personally, and that's just equal lows down here. There's some levels of draw down here. We've spent a lot of time up in this area in here. They stabbed and rejected price up here, so everything about this is telling me that they're going to take this thing lower. But problem we got is US dollar is very, very strong. So unless we start seeing some rejection on the US dollar, they're going to continue to run price on Canadian dollar. And that's really all there is to it. So, and I don't want to go long on this. If I was going to get long, I would have got long back in here, but I was kind of going against my ideas. I don't want to look at anything like that because I believe the trend is going to be lower. But definitely for an intraday scalp, I mean, you could have got long on a return back down on this failure swing here, and then you could have potentially got long and maybe shot for this high here. You know, nice range there, but... $7.30. Crude oil doing? Crude's pushing lower. So I want to see if they want to run these stops down here and then a potential rejection. That'd be a great trade. A really sinking price here, getting there quickly. It kind of leads me to believe that they're trying to soak up some of these stops under the market here. If you did get long, though, you could have captured, out of this consolidation period, you could have captured a few pips there, but I think they're going to sink this down just based on how quickly they're running price in here. And so these lows are going to get swept, and I want to see how much willingness they have to come back down under these lows here. They may want to return back to the highs of the pre of the news here. This is crude oil inventories yesterday, so rate of, or what the hell was crude oil inventories? It was 10:30 New York time, 8:30, 16, so 17. So right here, basically right here, they put the low end of the day right here, and then they surged price on crude oil inventory numbers. You can see nice run too, a nice $1.50 move on crude oil. Now they're going to start to take the lows here, and I want to see if there's any rejection. Any willingness to just come down, sweep the stops, reject, and go higher. They could want to come back down to the 71.20 level where I got this blue line on. That could be a draw on price. You see how they did it here? So these were crude. This was actually where Trump had got on and announced that they backed out of that Iranian deal right down here. You can see how they surged price off of that, came right back down and traded right back down to those levels. Right in there. See that? And then exploded price higher this week. So, could see something like that happening. But I think they'll probably close off crude higher this week. Nice surge on US CAD. Just looking at a weekly chart on US CAD. It's an interesting bit of price action right in here. Just looking at a few levels, a few different spots where price could potentially run to. In order for price to go higher on this market, so you can see it definitely has been, you know, a bullish market, bullish uptrend. You can see they haven't wanted to take the prices lower yet, but they ran above the market, rejected nicely, came back down, and so far put in a failure swing. And I think we're going to see lower prices. I'd like to see them at least come down and satisfy this range down in here, right in here. I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to shoot for these lows. They could want to rebound it and take it back down to this trend line here, which would basically just be the consolidation area down here where they may want to drop it to if they lose this low. But they've pushed this thing up, taken out all the stops above this small consolidation level here, ran it back down, failed to go lower than here, ran it back up, failed again, and now we're just kind of sitting in the middle of this range on Canadian dollar. So like I say, wasn't a whole lot to talk about in this here and these consolidation levels in here. Wasn't a whole lot, in my opinion, that interested me, but they ripped it up, took out the stops, failed, came back down, and now we're kind of trading right back into the middle of that range, and then they dropped it again. And so I'm thinking that this is just a short-term shallow rally. We've got some news coming out on the Canadian dollar tomorrow, and I think that's what's gonna be the driver and roll it over. Almost got to the lows in here. Sorry, I know there's a lot of dead space here. I don't have a whole ton to run through here yet, guys. Well, so far, some nice reaction on crude oil so far, but I'm still suspect. I think this is, you know, they're coming down and they're just putting in equal lows right here. I think they're going to run this one more time before they start jamming it higher. But and again, if I did go long under here, which I was talking about earlier, I'd want to be putting my stop, you know, underneath these levels in here, just in case. And I would even say under this blue line here, this 71.20 level. If I did go long, let's say I got long on a stop run, that'd be about about a 30 pip stop or so, 35 pip stop. So nothing too serious. But I think we're going to come lower here yet. I'd like them to anyway. Just to come back down and just come down to this level right here. This little consolidation level right there. That's all I'm looking for. See if they want to get back down into that. If they lose that if they lose this level in here, I'd be a little concerned. But they could want to trade back down to here. That's why you put a stop underneath there. But I really want to see them sweep these lows, not just come down and just equal, put it in an equal level and then reject and go higher. Love it if they just came down a little bit lower on it. Now we're putting in 30 pips so far above these highs in here. See if they want to get up to these lows under here. Could put it in a retracement and then another push higher, but anyways, it's getting on here now. It's about, I've been into this live session now for about an hour and a half, and so far price isn't necessarily reacting the way I want it to, so I'm not going to be taking any demo trades today on anything. I'm going to be watching this crude. Look at that push on crude. Going to be watching this. I'd like higher on crude for sure. Really hope they come down one more time here. I'd be grabbing along off of that, that's for sure. I won't be with you guys when that happens because it could take a little while to come out, but I do like that. And then, like I say, pound dollar and euro USD. I mean, nothing really too exciting about that to talk about today, unfortunately. So, bit of a duller day, but sometimes that's just the way markets are. Nice movement on UJ. If anybody was trading the UJ market, like I was talking about earlier. Just be careful, guys. If you guys are crude oil traders and you do end up taking a long under here, just to protect myself, just so you know, this is not trade advice. I'm not a licensed trade advisor, etc., etc., etc. I'm not a money manager or anything like that. These are just my expressed opinions only. If you did go long after that, like I say, just watch this. I don't want to see them come any lower than here. If they start losing the lows in here, then that's not going to be conducive. But I don't think they're going to do that. You can see here they came back down. This was a stop run right here. They came back down and traded aggressively off of that. And so they really worked price very, very efficiently in here. They finally broke out of that range. So I think it's just a retest and a breakout pattern that we're going to see here. But like I said, I just would love to see if they came down and just sweep these lows one more time, and then you could play that for the rest of the day. But I don't hold crude oil over the weekend either, just as an FYI. A lot of stuff can happen on the weekend. But I'll leave those on there. Anyway, you got my thoughts. Gonna have to just kind of wait and see. Crude oil, or sorry, US CAD, I might wait till tomorrow, or at least wait until the close of today, see where it ends off today, and then potentially look at a range getting into the Asian session early or late into Thursday, and see what the Asian session does, and then potentially get short. I'll tell you right now, I'm looking at short positions on the US CAD. Now, the one thing, like I say, they could do is they could want to come up and just blow out the stops above here. That could certainly be an option, and again, there are equal highs up here. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind if you are looking at doing that as well too. You just got to be very cognizant that they may want to run back above here. And with that being said, I think I'll wait. Like I say, I'm going to watch price today. There's no rush trading. That's the other thing too, is a lot of traders, and I used to be very impatient with my trading. Now, I mean, nowadays, I mean, it's got to be the perfect setup that I'm looking at to trade price. We're starting to get a little bit later in the day here. There's definitely, if they want to keep pushing this higher, they could keep pushing this higher definitely for the next couple of hours. And we could just sit here and chop higher, chop higher, chop higher, and then start to take out these levels here and potentially even run these guys here. Now, if we fall short, if price runs up to here and we fall short and we put in a tight Asian range, so let's say price starts to do something like this in here, that's basically where I'll look to do the same type of idea. You see how they exploded price up here and rejected? If they just hold price somewhere in this range here and put a tight range like that in for the Asian session, and price sort of chops in sideways in here and just goes back and forth. Like here, let me see if I can do this a little bit better for you guys here. So again, they're coming back, and if they fail to take out the highs from Wednesday today, so let's say, you know, they just sort of come up above here, poke their head above this level in here, and they just sort of, you know, sit here and do basically, you know, this. What I'd like to see is them create a real sort of tight trading range in here, and just I'd like to see them chop this thing sideways, just like this, basically, for the Asian session. And then London trading. Now that news is coming out 8:30 a.m. New York time tomorrow. Okay, so that news comes out. I'd be watching what they're doing on this, and then as that news starts to come out, right around when I started this live session, what I'd like to see them do then is to come in and just do that little stop run above here, and then from there, then I'd like to see if they'd have any willingness to reject those levels, and then potentially from there we could have a nice trade down and sweep those lows. You know, like that's about 120 pips. These are the lows that I was talking about, and potentially maybe put something like that in. So again, I don't know how, you know, realistic something like that would come in, but that's what I'd be looking for. Again, just for them to come up, potentially sweep them by a couple of pips, and maybe not even up here, but maybe just these guys in here and reject, and then drop. So we'll see. Like I say, I don't. I'm just kind of doing some forecasting here. I don't know if any of that's actually going to happen or not. But they did definitely want to push through. That's definitely not a stop run right in here. And this is why you don't want to just, you got to wait, you know. They'll come in and they'll reject. And sometimes you miss them. Sometimes you can't get the very high of the day. But you can always get in on a short retracement if they fail in here. And then you can get price to roll over, and, you know, you get your target on the day. But that's why you don't want to just assume everything's going to be a stop run. You got to wait and see what they do with price, and wait and see and wait and see. And what I was talking about earlier, going back to my original comment of having patience, as a younger trader, I would have saw that and said, yeah, that's a short. I'm going to take that because they dropped price in here. It's just a return back to run the stops, and I'm getting short. And sometimes it definitely is like that. But I would have got all over that. As soon as price smashed up into here, I would have been short right there on that candle, and obviously I would have been stopped out, right? So what I've come to learn in my trading is there's no rush to do anything. And you know why I say that is, look at this. You know, look at this price. So you say, okay, I think price is going to go short. Maybe you're chopping in here and you're looking at this and saying, okay, I think price is going to go short. And so you get in here and then it spikes you out. And all you would have had to have done was just wait, sit on that and wait for price to come and do its thing. It's the same thing in here. Price is coming up, it's doing its thing in here, it's dropping back down, comes up one more time for a failure swing, drops back down, come up one more time. And that's why I say, like, you know, these levels in here, this 28.35 level, that's kind of a significant level, I think. And then watch price roll over, and you just wait, and that's when you wait. The waiting pays off. You don't have to get every single pip of every single move, but if you can get 60 to 70% of a nice big move, let's say you get a short somewhere in here, and yeah, maybe you didn't get short up in here, but price does eventually run back down to these levels in here that I was calling. You know, sure, you don't get to full 200 pips or 250 pips, but you get, you know, 160. Well, you know, if you did that once a week, I mean, that's still a great trading week. I mean, nothing wrong with that. You're making money, and that's the big thing is capital preservation. You know, you go in on these moves and you say, oh, that's the stop run, and then all of a sudden it pushes up and it pushes 30 pips into your stop or 20 pips into your stop, and it just starts to slowly erode your account because you're not waiting. You're very impatient, and it's one of the hardest things to do. I don't think there's anything in this world harder than to sit on your hands while you're trading. I really don't. You know, it's a very, very difficult thing to do, to have the patience and the restraint to sit and watch price and to say, you know what, there's my entry level prices like this crude oil. Okay, what did I say earlier? I was looking for price to reject at this level and then to run higher. It didn't quite get down to the level that I wanted it to. There was a small area in price underneath these lows that I wanted price to come and tag into. It didn't do that. It just rejected right at the equal low. Sometimes it does that, right? And I missed that trade. But who's to say that price isn't doing this just to come back up here, to grab more shorts, come back down, and drop even lower? And so I would have got long in here. I would have put my stop under here, and only for them to come up, reject, and come down and smash my stop, right? So you got to wait for the setups. The setups got to be, you know, they have to be correct. You can't just jump in. I don't anyway. I mean, maybe you do. You know, to each their own. But I kind of feel that the traders that are impulsive, that get in on those quick movements and you know, hope to capitalize on the exact low and the exact high, I would kind of venture to say that their equity curve isn't necessarily reflecting their optimism in price, if that makes any sense. But anyway, hopefully some of you got on this. I don't know. Again, I don't know your trading style. It wasn't mine. I wanted to see price drop right down in here, and then I would have got on that. But it didn't, so I'm not going to be chasing price. If we get a retrace, if price comes closes here, retraces back down to 71, this red line here, 71.85, I'd be looking at maybe getting on a long there, but price would need to close here, come back down, and then hit it, and then go higher. So that's something you could look at if you're keen on getting long on crude oil. Don't buy it at here. And this is the other thing I don't do as well too. So I've got a few trading rules. One of my trading rules is if I'm buying in a market, I don't buy on a green candle. So if price is doing this, any green candle, I don't buy on a green candle. I only buy on a black candle. So as price is going down, that's when I'm buying. And the only simple reason for that is you get a better price offering. You clear the spread quicker. So on this particular feed, you can see, and I've talked about this before, but this could be old news to some of you guys, and I apologize if I'm going through it, but I know there's some new people here. So as price is going down, the spread lessens. So this is what price is currently trading at. This is what my entry would get in at. So if I went long right now, even though price is at 71.90, my price that they would put me in, the spread would be at 71.95. So I'd be losing money right off the hop. So what I do is I sit there and I wait for price to put a black candle in, to start going down, and that's when the spread lessens and it hits the low, and then I get long, you know, close to the low, whatever it is. But as the price starts to fade out and go higher, it covers that spread a lot quicker, and you make a lot more money that way. So try practicing that in your demo accounts. Try, if you're long on a specific instrument or market or whatever, try doing that. Try buying on a down candle, on a down close candle, and see if you don't like the results a little bit better than buying on an up candle, or chasing price essentially. Okay, we just came up and tagged into this low into here on Canadian dollar. I honestly personally believe if they're going to run price this high here, that they could take out this interim price swing rate here and potentially trade back to this level. Which, again, like I say, with that news coming out tomorrow, that would be great. If they came up and took that and then started chopping in a real tight range in here, I'd be looking for that stop sweep to come up here tomorrow and then a drop to continue. So crude oil so far seeing a little bit of rejection. So anyway, guys, it's I've been on here now for about an hour and 40 minutes. I don't have a whole lot else to talk about. Unless you got something that you want to discuss, I'll give you another maybe minutes to put it into the chat. Now look at US dollar. Rejection. Took out the interim high for the day. Coming back, and so far it's rejecting that high. I honestly think they'll probably push it above here today. But we'll still have to wait and see. It could take them a couple hours yet to do that, and I'm not going to sit around. Like I say, I'm done here for the day. I don't think there's a whole lot more to talk about. You guys have my ideas, so I'm pretty much just beating a dead horse here with you guys. There's really not a whole lot else to discuss. Nice reaction on crude oil here, though. Very nice reaction. When you start seeing that, that's the trigger. That's when you know that you're going to see higher prices. When you start seeing these long wicks down underneath here, it just kind of pisses me off that they literally did not come down and sweep these. Maybe a pip. No, I wouldn't even say it'd be a pip on this feed. What did that come in at? You can't see my charts or my price tags lower, but 71.61. And this one here came in at 71.60, so it grabbed it by about a pip, I guess. I kind of hate it when they do that. I like a convincing stop run. Like I like a nice 5 to 10 pip stop run. That's really what I like. That's and then a rejection and a wick to put in. That's the type of stops runs that I like. These ones that come in and just, you know, 1 pip or like a half a pip, those drive me crazy. Because you never know if they're going to come back down one more time deeper on it. So, but anyway, I don't see any other questions coming through, so I'm going to end this here, guys. I appreciate your time. Dave will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. New York time, and like I say again, he'll be running through the S&P. He'll be running through gold and the U.S. yen, and so you can look forward to that. He'll also do a quick overview of the markets as well too, just to kind of give you guys an update as to what had happened. U.S. CAD here, so far we're seeing a little bit of rejection. So what I'd kind of expect them to do is do something like this, come back down to the highs here, and then push higher. And I think this is going to be their target. I think this short-term high could be their target. Have to see though. What did it get up to? 120, about 120, 128.20 or so far. It's gotten up to. About 33 pips on that. So far, some nice rejection on the US dollar. Not totally convinced that this isn't just a retrace lower and then a push higher on dollar. We'll have to watch and see what happens there. Anyway, okay. Well, thanks for your time, guys. I appreciate that. Like I said, I didn't take any trades today. I wasn't really happy with the way markets were doing anything. So it's got to be pretty much a cinch lock trade for me to take it. So I just not interested really in anything much that's happening today. So if you've been with me for now for the past hour and 43 minutes, I commend you. Thank you, because that was a little bit boring. not a whole lot to talk about. So I do appreciate that, but I hope you guys have a great Thursday. David will be with you again. I'll send out the links for that, so you got plenty of notice, and we'll catch up to you for tomorrow morning. And I'll be back again with a pre-recorded video on the market analysis weekly look ahead on Sunday. I'll get that out to you guys. And then I'll be back myself on Tuesday, probably London Open. I'll do on Tuesday. I'd like to trade that London Open, but we'll have to look at the news. I'll take a look at the news events that are happening on Tuesday, and then I'll let you know in advance if I'm going to be on doing the New York session or the London Open session, and we'll let you know from there. Hope you guys have a great day, and if I don't talk to you again personally, then hope you have a great weekend, and don't forget, Dave will be in tomorrow, 9 a.m. New York time, going through S&P, UJ, gold, and a few other pairs. So thanks very much for joining us. Have a great day.